Hello there. My name is Rajab Mahmood. I am a filmmaker for Brothers Production Films. I'm a content producer, and majority of the films that you see on our YouTube channel are basically directed, produced, and also written by me. There's a few exemptions where they're not been written by me. I don't really see a lot of filmmakers in Birmingham who just kind of come on camera and just talk about their filmmaking experience and also their process, their inspirations. So I just thought, why not kind of talk about why I love filmmaking in the first place and what kind of drives me to my goals and my aspirations and my ambitions. I want to do a special shout out for my sponsor today, and that's Dream Factory. This is our incredible studio here that kind of helps me envision my dreams and allows me and gives me the opportunity to facilitate those dreams and also make them come to real life. We've got some incredible films that were shot here, like Filmmakers of the Future. You have Cheese, Retire, which will be coming out soon. You got Garjul. You also have Scarlet coming out soon as well. So, this place started off with a fun little experiment to just host certain people, but now it's kind of become a great space for me to kind of just, let my ideas flourish. And it's also a great space for me to kind of just sit down and be alone and just think whilst I kind of write up my next feature film, which is a boxing film. If you want to know more about it, I'm more than happy to make another video about it. So please do, comment down below. So today's episode is why I love filmmaking and what got me started and what's keeping me going. Um, so yeah, like the reason why I love filmmaking is because, damn man, is because I get to connect with people in real life. I love the filmmaking process. I love when, you're all alone in the pre-production stage and, you're just thinking about like what is this specific idea? What's the goals of these characters? Where is the story going? What's the beginning, middle, and end? And then once you have that figured out, I just love to kind of bring that to real life and then, film it with my friends. I think that's the most important thing is like, my friends and family have leaked into my filmmaking experience that I absolutely love it. Like I have my father, Nasser Mahmood, and my sister Aisha, who basically helped me, plan certain things, production design the space. So we have some incredible shooting area that makes it interesting for the audience as well as just the general viewer. And then I also have my friends who kind of come along as well and help me film it, by filling in certain specific roles like sound, camera, and then once that is over, you push it into editing, and then suddenly you're all alone again because I normally kind of edit my films alone. I wish to get more editors on board. I think that would be incredible. Um, so yeah, it's like when I'm in the, like with that whole process, I just understand the importance of community when it comes to filmmaking. Like, I think that's my core value there. And I always believe that with filmmaking, it's always an opportunity to basically inspire, educate, and entertain. And those are my core principles. And that's why I love filmmaking. I love filmmaking because, like, I remember when I was a kid and I made my first ever film, like, the whole crowd just clapped as loud as possible for my film out of everybody. And that kind of really motivated me that, like, there are actual people out there that will, appreciate, the value that I provide. I don't really see filmmaking as art because I feel like if I see it that way, there's some sort of pretension there that like, oh, whatever I'm dealing with, like this subject matter is better than anything else in this specific time and space. So I normally just see it not as art, and I just see it as just content to basically, put onto the big screen. Really, like I feel like if I thought about it as art, I will never get anywhere. And I think that's like the most, you know, like that's like the core thing that kind of motivates me. Most importantly, um, so yeah, I'll talk about how I started, in my journey. in my filmmaking journey. So basically, when I was a young kid, like 10 years old, 10, 11 years old, I used to make, well, I didn't used to make anything. I just used to love watching films. Like I remember I used to just watch, like just kid films or whatever. And I used to have honestly, an incredible auntie that used to, take me to the cinemas, and she would like literally help me watch like not adult films, but like, just more like, 15 plus type of films or whatnot. And I thought that was incredible. I remember my first ever time watching something excellent was probably not Spec Skyfall, and that was the James Bond film. I honestly absolutely loved it, man. Oh, man, honestly, I absolutely loved it. Like I remember when I was there, the soundtrack just like was excellent, and the direction was great. The acting was honestly wicked. The stunts were honestly fabulous. That like I could notice these things. Like I remember when we finished, and my auntie was like, "Oh, what do you think of it?" I was like, "Oh, like the music was incredible. Like the stunts were crazy. Like the way that these people moved, like when gunshots happened or wherever." And like that kind of stuck with me the most, that I kind of became like conscious about those decisions in the film. That But like after that moment, I never kind of like took action. I never was like, oh, I want to make my own film. I still went along as just like a kid, just kind of going on school wherever, like mosque. uh, and then there was a point where, like, the second, well, the next installment was coming out, which was Spectre, and I was like, I want to watch that, and my auntie was like, sure, let's go. And when we did that, and we went there, I watched it, and certain moments I was very amazed, but generally when I left the cinema, I was like very disappointed, and I was like, you know, I could do a better job, like I can do a better job than that. Um, And I was like, why don't I just film something, like not film something. I was like, why don't we make like a fun little parody? Because at that period of time, I was making YouTube pranks and wherever, and a channel that you guys will never know. But we used to do like football pranks. Basically, we were inspired by like KSI and Mini Minter and whatnot. So that was like our like journey of just growing up, and we were doing like, yeah, just foot like crossbar challenges, and I scraped my elbow one time, and it turned out to be an incredible video. But then I was like, I had that conscious mind of like, oh, let's do a parody now. Like I never thought about it as a film like any time before. So I was like, let's just do that. That would be incredible. Um, so yeah, like I made a parody with my cousins, and at that period of time, my auntie just like kind of disappeared a little bit. So I felt a bit sad, and I was like, if I made this parody film, at least she would see it. So my whole goal was like just visibility, and it was just like, I want to make a film, and I just want to be seen by one person. I don't care if I showed it to 100 people. I just want one person, like who I want to see it, and that was my auntie. So I basically made it with my cousins, and that was the first ever time that I kind of involved people around. And at that period of time, we didn't have like a good camera, so I kind of asked my dad if we could basically, make something, and he was like, "Yeah, sure thing. What would you need?" Um, you know, at that time, like we never thought, "Oh, let's record it on a phone," because like phone storage was terrible for like videos. So, and I think my dad had like a Sony Xperia back then. Um, I don't know if you guys like know Orange, like it was like three, like T-Mobile, wherever. So yeah, like we basically bought a my first ever camera, which was a Samsung. It was like literally like a DSLR, but it was like you couldn't change the lens or anything, so it was just like a digital zoom type of thing. So we just used that, and honestly, it was incredible for what it was. Because I remember there was a period of time when Steven Spielberg came to Birmingham, and he shot Ready Player One, and there was a lot of like talk around, like the area where like the public were, and it was like, oh, we haven't seen Steven Spielberg. And there was a time when he just left his caravan, and I literally got like a perfect shot of him leaving and just like shaking people's hands and hugging people, and then he left for his Land Rover and disappeared. And I was literally like a mile away, and I just zoomed into like a perfect composition and I got him. And I remember there was like a photographer near me and he was like, I couldn't get a shot or whatnot. And I was like, I've got the video, but I never did anything to it. I was honestly a terrible salesman. I couldn't sell that footage to save my life really. But I really liked, from that point, I was like, this is an incredible camera. This is the best. And I was like, let's make something. And that was literally a parody of Spectre. And we made it wasn't a parody of Spectre because like I haven't watched any of the older stuff, and my dad was like, "Oh, why don't you watch the older stuff?" And there was one about like Goldfinger, like one of the Sean Connery films. So my dad was basically like, "Oh, let's why don't you do that?" Like it's very simple. So I had my little like cousin who was like 6 years old or five, like seven or something, and he played the role of James Bond, and we did it. And there was a certain point at the end where we did like this visual effect or like a SFX, like a special effect practically, and it was just like literally a miniature car on like like a carpet that is like dressed as a city. So we just like kind of moved the cars around with our fingers, but we kind of like angled it as much as we could to like not show the hands, and we put it into the film. And I remember I showed it to my teacher in school. It was a drama teacher, and she honestly loved it. My dad loved it. My cousins loved it, and I remember I talked to like my auntie, and she watched it, and she was like, "I absolutely love it." Like, and now looking back on it, is absolutely dog crap. Like it was dog shit. Because it's funny looking back on those stuff, but I'm probably sure like when they were watching it, they were like, "Yeah, this is honestly terrible. It's worse than the film." But at least the kids got heart. And I think at that point, like everybody around me was like, "Oh, this is really good. You should kind of make another one." And at the end of that, I was like, "Oh, I need to credit people." So I already knew that. I was like, I want to credit people because in our prank videos, we'd be like, oh, this was the presenter, or these were the people that were like doing the pranks. So I knew that. So I was like, crediting the actors and whatnot. But then I was like, what do you call the person that actually like makes the film like? And I remember at that point I had to research because I didn't even know. Like I was a stupid kid, so I was like, what do you even call it? What do you call the guy that like directs a film? And then when I searched it, it was like, oh, director, producer, and I also wrote the idea. So I was like, oh, writer. So I was like, damn, I want to be those. Um, I want to be that person that does this. And from that point onwards, my family just knew that he wants to pursue this and we're going to support it because he's got a lot of heart and he's rough right now. But if we give him the opportunities or help him prepare for those opportunities, he'll become more sharper. So I think I absolutely love my family because of that, and especially my dad. I remember at that point, my dad was like, "Oh, you know what? Like, we've got all this footage with this camera. Why don't we buy a camcorder, which was specifically meant for like videos?" And at that time, when we were looking on Argos catalog, like camcorders were a big deal back then, uh, and it kind of fell off, because now DSLRs are the because like for me it was like, oh, just get a digital zoom camera, which was the basic because it was very cheap, and then get a camcorder for video because it was just I want to be a filmmaker, so I don't want to take pictures. I just want to focus on video. So we got that, and then after that would be the DSLR because now you're like a serious filmmaker. That's how I kind of imagine it. It's like if you buy a DSLR, you're like a professional now. So I was like, let me just, I'm not a pro yet. Like I don't know aperture, this, that, the other. So let me just get a Sony. And at that point, we started making more films, and the production value kind of grew. From the first ever project, we made some fun little ideas, and I still had my cousins as actors. And then at that point, my uncle was like, you know what, you should pursue this slightly, slightly more, because like you have no guidance. You're watching like videos at that point in time. It was mainly DSLR guide, but I didn't have a DSLR, so I was just like watching those lighting videos, audio, videos and stuff. So I was like, I want to do that. And my uncle was like, you should go to the Mac Center, and there's like some incredible young filmmaker courses. And it was like one which was called like Young Filmmaker, yeah, literally Young Filmmaker course. Um, and I basically went there. I basically applied for it. It was like a couple of sessions per week, and that was just before like year 11. It was like year 10 where I was going into those stuff, and I went there. And as I joined, that was like my first exposure to like a multicultural community because I'm from Small Heath and I'm always around like Pakistanis, a Somalian community, Arabian community and stuff. So I never got to see a lot of like black people, white people and whatnot. So I'd always just see them in films, crazy in it, or in school in it. Uh, so I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm in this place. Let's make some new friends, like called Billy, Tom, wherever, Dwayne. And as I joined, the teacher of that course, he was basically like, oh, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this course, but we gotta think of an idea. And only one person put his hand up, and he was like a senior member of that course. He was like a couple of years older than me, and I was only like 15 or 14 years old at that time. And he was like probably 16 or 17, and he's been there like two times, so he was like a senior of that young filmmaker course. And I remember he was pitching something for a zombie film, and I was like, okay, that's really good, but I want to make something because I remember when I got off that car to go into the center, my dad was like, I'm paying £200 for this course and I want to see something out of it made by you. So I was like, fuck, like basically, I have to basically make something and I have to force my way into just, getting something physical, like, just make a film. I have to make a film. Like, my dad's paying for it. He wants to see something. I have to make it. I have to overcome anything that gets thrown my way. And I remember when I was there, I put my hand up as well. And the thing is, the teacher just shut me down. He was like, I shouldn't do it because this older kid, he's basically done a couple of films before, and everybody, like his films are more intense, and they need everybody's help and everybody's cooperation. But I just like pulled the teacher to the side, and I was like, look, my dad's paying for this course, and we're paying for this course, and I basically need to make something. Like I have to show something for it. And he was like, oh yeah, but the main time that for the whole duration of your stay here, you're gonna help this other kid, and you're not gonna make your film until the last 2 weeks, like a little micro short. And I was like, no, I have an idea that's 6 minutes, 8 minutes long, and that was called A Witness Crime. And I literally just thought of it like on the spot. I was like, oh, it's just gonna be an interrogation scene because it'll be easy, and I could act in it if I don't find actors. And I remember I had to just fight my way to just make something, and that was like my first exposure to just people like shutting me down and just being really rude and just saying that, oh, just because you're young you can't do it. And I was like, but we're already in a young filmmaker course, god damn it. Like, you know like it just doesn't make any sense to be in a young filmmaker course, and not make, like, let young filmmakers make their films, man. And so that was that. And I was like, I'm gonna make it. And the teacher was like, okay, cool, you can make it. But the thing is, with the cameras, they're gonna be limited. You're gonna edit on a Mac. Have you ever used a Mac? I was like, no, I don't even know what that is really. Because Apple products were just crazy, man. Like, way expensive, bro. Like, I was just using fucking like Toshiba's, bro. Like, you know what I mean, like fucking £200 laptops and free software wherever. And these guys were like, "Oh, I use Final Cut Pro," and I was like, "What the fuck is that, bro? Like, I don't even know what you're talking about." So at that point, you know, my yeah, so basically the guy was like, "Oh, you can make it, fucking like you just do your thing." But the thing is, I started like asking around. I was like, can anybody help me? But the thing is, a lot of them were just working on the other guy's project, so I had to literally scout and find people. But the lucky thing is, there were a couple of new people that joined, and I kind of convinced them to not join the other guy's project and do mine. And that was really good because honestly, my negotiating skills were like killer. Because I was like, damn, bro, like I got those kids, let's go. Pause. But when I got it, I got involved and I got everybody. And we literally just shot the thing, and we had cameras that I never used before. I never watched a tutorial. I was like, I will fucking figure out where that record button is. I already know what the focus is, how to do that. Like, I mean, and we'll go from there. Exposure, yeah, you just click a certain button wherever, it should be fine. And sound wasn't like a priority for me. I was like, as long as like the audio levels bounce wherever, like it'll be fine. So we made the whole thing, and after that, we had to edit. And honestly, I was literally just thrown into the deep end. Like everyone, the mentor was just like, I can't be here because I'm helping the other kid and the other kids around him make that film. So I was literally left alone in the editing suite to just edit my film, and I didn't know what Final Cut Pro was, so I had to watch a ton of tutorials to learn through it. And I'm not gonna lie, like I've worked on Adobe and now DaVinci, but Final Cut Pro is so good. Like it's actually a really good platform, to edit your projects. It's very simple, I absolutely love it to this day. Um, so yeah, like I edited my film, and I found music on YouTube, like non-copyright, and we put it up. And then the screening was just about to happen, a couple of weeks time, and as it was leading up for that, the screening, the actors' parents were there, everybody was there, and I remember the other kid showed his film. He was like the main show, but like when he premiered it, that was like my first experience of just like learning what an audience reaction was, because like a lot of people just clapped because like the family friends just supporting. And then it was my time to do it because not a lot of people, everybody was just like, he's only made a James Bond parody. He's not even made a film before. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Um, so when they showed my film, honestly, the whole room lit up. We had some really good shots, and at the end, everybody just clapped, and I was like, I am in love with this. I wanted to keep on doing this. And that was like a core memory for me because I remember at that period of time, like the mentor was like, "Oh, you can't use the cameras, you can't, with the editing, you got to do this, you got to learn something unfamiliar, and I'm not gonna help you." And the actors, the XYZ, you'll have to find them rather than us helping you along the way. It's like it was basically just like you paid your way into a club, and you just have to navigate your way and find your own crew, like in that room. But I overcame that, and it was a great way of just learning that, like, what true independence was. I was like, okay, cool. I'm literally like relying on other people for cameras, for editing, or just like their time, really. So I was like, why don't I just buy these things now? I was like, I want to come to a position in my life where I just buy my own resources, or just at least have some sort of control where I have everything around me that's sufficient. And since then, I've always tried to acquire my own cameras, which I have, as you're watching from now, like, the Black Magic, my own sound equipment. Like, just because, like, I'm not a sound recordist doesn't mean that I shouldn't have my own sound kit. It's just so that, like, I can learn about this thing in my own time. And if people let me down, I can always be the one that replaces them. Like I'm not scared if people aren't available. I will go above and beyond to deliver. I will get the job done. Like for me, it's not about a great film. Like at that point in time when I made that film, it wasn't about making a great film. It was just proving people wrong, and that's what I always believe in: is just getting it done and proving people wrong. Because if you just believe that art is just art wherever, and is subjective, your film's subjective, then you're gonna make subjective films. You're not gonna make the best film. That's what I believe in. It's like if you just make a film just believing that you put all your heart into it, like everybody will feel that emotion. And that's the emotion that you want people to feel anyway. You want people to feel invested into a film before like emotions run through their tears or whatever feeling you want them to feel. You just want them to feel invested in the beginning. And if you show people that you went above and beyond to get this project from nothing to there, you've already sold that bit to them. And that's what I always went through, and that's what I've learned, and I was like that, and that's what I stick to nowadays as well. So after that period of time, I remember we made the film. My dad was very impressed. He was very happy that I made something and went above and beyond. I remember every time when we were in the car ride going back home, I would complain, but my dad was like, "At least you've done it your way." And I was like, "Damn!" Like, despite me arguing and talking a lot of shit, I was like, I am actually doing it my way. Like, I'm actually learning a lot from just being on my own, really. Um, yeah, sorry. But yeah, like, from that point onwards, after that, it kind of came like a certain thing kind of came along. It's like it was just seasonal depression, I suppose, because uh, it was just like year 10 finished and I was failing all my exams. And I remember my dad was like, okay, cool. Every filmmaker has gone to university, or the big filmmakers that I saw, went to university. So you should at least prepare yourself to go through the educational institutions to get to that point. So you're just educationally prepared to overcome anything. And I was like, okay, cool, that's great, but I'm failing, so I need help. But tutors, private tutors or whatever, wouldn't help. So I was like, I need to just fix my mindset. And I was like, let me just get it done. I have to get it done. I have to focus. This is the point. This is the time. I need to do it. And once I do this GCSEs, everything else will be easy. Yeah, that was crazy to think that. But I was like, I'm gonna do that. So I literally dropped filmmaking for a year to just completely devote myself to my exams, and I did that. And I went from D's and E's and C's to A stars, A's and B's, which was really good for me. And when I remember when I showed my dad my exams, he was very impressed. He took a picture with me, and he also gifted me an iPhone. That was the first time I went from like those crappy phones that were like £80, £100. They were like Samsung A wherever, like super cheap on the Argos catalog. I went from that to like an iPhone, and I was like, yeah, now I'm in the big league. So, and that kind of granted me a lot more freedom as well, just, being successful in my exams, because my dad was like, oh, okay, cool, now I can trust you to just, like, film wherever you need to, stay out late and, explore, location scout, wherever, like just have fun as well. And I remember when I finished my exams, I was actually super depressed or just really down all the time because I was like, I've not done like I've basically not touched a camera or never put an idea out for such a long time, for literally a year. And I was like, I don't really have any ideas to share. Like, I don't have any stories to tell. I don't want to tell exam stories or like stories about students because I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I want to like just leave that mindset behind. And I was like, I've never like explored anything. I've not experienced anything new during my exam season. I was like, I've always just stuck to just sticking by the book, not doing anything risky, and just focusing on my education. That when I left and got good grades, I was like, I don't know, like I don't know what to tell stories about, and it was just really sad because all my friends were making good films, and I was like, oh man, I'm being left behind here. That I was like, you know what, like screw it, let me just like experience something new. So I did NCS. When they say, oh yeah, it looks great on your CV, it doesn't. But I did, like I did NCS, which is like a national something something. It was basically like a week of residential course where you go like, climb up mountains or go, like to countryside or wherever. A second week is like you live in uni accommodation and live in uni campus to feel what it feels like to be in uni. And you do certain things in university to kind of have the uni experience, I suppose. And third week is like, I think you set up your own business or wherever, and it's something like that. The first week was incredible. I met some great people. I'm not friends with them today, but like they were great at that period of time of my life. Um, and I basically did that. It was great. And I made a lot of great memories and I had a lot of experiences. But that wasn't enough to inspire me to like continue writing. So I was like, like I am honestly like just burning time here. Like I want to like film something. And then at that point, someone told me about BFI, which is the British Film Institute. So I basically joined the BFI. It was like a regional course. It was like for 16-year-olds to 18-year-olds, I think. And it was great for me because that was just after NCS, and when I did that, I think that was during like like college time when I joined Cadbury College. It was great. I met really good people that are friends today. Um, and yeah, so with that point in time, I remember like the course split us between two, like animation and live action. And honestly, the mentor there was honestly fabulous, man. Her name was Jeanette, and she was so inspiring, man. I was literally like a teacher's pet. Like I was just like, I've never had this like type of like teacher before who just inspires me so much to like make something. And she was like, "Oh, an idea will come, RJ. Like, you just need to just wait. You know, all you have to do is like, if you don't feel or hear or do anything at the moment, like that's okay, because like you have to let life, happen for you to kind of capture it later." And I was like, okay, that's excellent. So, uh, and part of the BFI was like you'd be part of a film crew and you'd be mentored by people. You'd have some great master classes with filmmakers, and I thought that would be a great chance for me to just be inspired. So, there was a live action team, there was an animation team. So the team was split into two, but you're making one film. The animation team would be led by Yamination Studios, which is based in Birmingham in Digbeth. Honestly, like Drew is wicked. He's the organizer of the place, the coordinator, and he's honestly a great animator and teacher. And I remember with him, he basically mentioned that I should be there with them, but I really wanted to go on live action because I was like, why not? And like I've always done live action before, but the thing is, I never did animation, so I was like, live action, animation, yeah, let's just do animation. There's something new in it. Why not? Like, it's not like I have any stories to tell or whatever. Because I remember part of the experience was to basically pitch an idea. My idea was shut down, but I knew it was dog shit because like I didn't have any ideas before, so it was just like like just stuff that you have to like say. It was just like stuff that I had to say really. It wasn't anything meaningful like the story that I pitched, which is totally understandable why I got turned down. But I joined the animation team. I was the producer and animator, sculptor, whatnot. I took multiple roles. It was great to be at like a safe base where you can go around and like see like people who are actually in the industry animate. And it was a great place to just like try something brand new, and it also like taught me a lot about patience. Like animation is always like, especially stop motion animation is all about patience. It's about like going for like taking two steps forward and one step back, but like as long as you take that one step after the two steps, at least you're just moving forward. Despite the lack of momentum, you're moving forward at the end of the day, but at a very slow pace. But it taught me a lot about patience, and I was like, okay, cool. This is a great place for me to, like, just test the water. And as I did that, it was great. We made a lovely film. Uh, we It got premiered in the in local theater, I think, and yeah, everybody was very impressed. I was super impressed because I think that was the first time where I learnt what a DSLR camera actually was and how it should be properly used. And it was my first time just seeing what higher production value looked like. And I was like, okay, cool. I want to scrap the whole Sony stuff and I want to just get a DSLR now. And I think I'm ready for that type of lifestyle. So we basically just, we just sped up really, like, we just like jumped up a notch. And that's when I was in college. So when I joined back to college, uh, I was now an alumni of BFI, and when I came back to college, I was like, okay, cool, I'm inspired. I have an idea, and I made Kamikaze, which was a short film about like terrorism, about like a kid who's just gonna like bomb something. I kind of forgot what the story was all about, but it's a great film. You can watch it. But yeah, so with that film, Uh, it went into a couple of film festivals. He went to South Bank, and that was my first time like going to London, leaving the city for my own project, which was lovely. And watching it on the big screen was just so awesome. Just hearing people like in such a bigger venue, just clap and appreciate my work. That was wicked. And then at that time when I was in college, I think it was just like nearly towards the end. I had an offer because I was the BFI alumni to uh, basically get into the NFTS like residential course, which was in collaboration with BFI. It was like a 2 week residential, and it would be full of like Hollywood level master classes, and you make something wicked with awesome cameras, like industry level. And I was like, I want to do that. So I applied, and I knew that I wouldn't get in if I like went in as a director. I kind of had like slightly lower self esteem maybe, because I was like, oh, if I did director, then at the end of the day, I just want to get my foot in the door. So I don't want if I did directing and producing, then imagine if they just reject me on both ends, then I don't really get in. Like my whole goal is to just get in, just do it. So I was like, at the like when we were doing the regional course, there was somebody that came along and pitched the idea, and he was basically saying like, not a lot of people do sound. Not a lot of people like choose sound as like a specialism when they're applying for the NFTS, because like majority of the popular ones are either directing, which is the main, producing, and then it's writing and production design. And sound was literally all the way at the bottom, and it was literally like only out of like 1,000 people that apply, only like 20 people apply for sound. And I was like, those are absolutely incredible odds for me. So I was like, let me just, I want to basically do that. Uh, so basically, I chose that, and I was waiting for like the response, and I got it. And I was honestly so chuffed that like my first choice was accepted, which was sound, and I got my foot into the door. That when I went into NFTS, we made honestly just learning everything was incredible. Like I stepped up my production value so much, and choosing sound was so important because, as I mentioned a while ago, like not a lot of my films were sound focused. Like I never focused on sound. That when I did NFTS, and I had been mentored by like proper industry level like mentors, they basically just shared how important filmmaking and sound is. They basically said that like sound basically makes up to 50 to 60% of your film experience for the viewer. And I was like, okay, cool, now is the time to learn the importance and how to do it properly. So I kind of leveled up those skills, that when we made the film, it wasn't like the best film, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, yeah, I'm being honest here, but like the film was shit really. Like it wasn't really like shot really well. I remember when I was there, I felt like if I was there and if I was directing, it would have been a completely different film. But at the end of the day, that's just talking shit, because I wasn't. So at the end of the day, it was great work from those guys, but I wasn't impressed. I was like, it could have been done better. But that's the key word, innit? It's just like, look, at the end of the day, don't do your best, do better. Yeah, I mean, like you can always do better. You can't always do the best because you can always do better. And like it's like a perpetual motion. You just have to keep on going. Like you have something needs to go. You can't just stop. Yeah. But yeah, like at that point, we made the film. It got premiered in South Bank again, and that this time it was more professional. It was honestly wicked. We stayed in Beaconsfield, and that was the first time I learnt about NFTS, which was the National Film and Television School, which I want to apply to. I want to do either directing or producing, but kind of broke, so I got to save up some money for that. And also, I haven't gone to uni, but we'll talk about that. So yeah, once that happened, I came back to Birmingham, and just to kind of talk a bit about it, like at NFTS, I actually chilled out with Pink Panthers. That's crazy. Like Pink Panthers was our editor, like the singer, like musician, was our like our editor. That was crazy. Honestly, like great success for her, man. Like but yeah, so once I came back, I was like, okay, cool. I wanna continue making films. I've learned some new stuff that I want to keep on going, and we made some new films. And the thing is, when it came to second year of college, COVID happened, and the pandemic happened, and schools and colleges were shut down. So I couldn't do my exams, and that was really good for me. I was like, I started locking in second year, and then basically COVID just locked me out again. So he was like, oh yeah, like, I don't need to do exams, so why am I like going to college for? And that's when college shut down and whatnot, and we started applying for universities and whatnot. And at that time, I basically joined a young filmmaker network that was based in Birmingham, is called BYFN. And when I joined there, I met some incredible friends who are friends even to this day, like Jonathan, Tosh, and Josh. And the organizer Cassie is wicked. I definitely recommend young filmmakers to do that course. Not course. It's just like a networking event. Really, you meet some great people. I think like out of everybody that goes there, I kind of use the network the most. Like a lot of my films incorporate a lot of those people that like go there, like compared to other people who go there and don't use the people around them there. If that makes sense. Like I feel like just to kind of enhance that a little bit. Like I feel like when I go there, I meet new people, and I always like whenever I do meet those new people, I always just know when I'm going to use them, like or include them into my projects, and that's like a great place for me to just scout new talent as well and be inspired as well. Because some of the films that get screened there are wicked, man. Like I remember I watched this film called Mise en Scene. There that was made by Paulina, and who recently went into BFI Future Film Festival and got nominated for Best Micro Short Film. So yeah, like she made Love Shots. I think that was the one. And then I watched some other ones like Spoon Man and whatnot. Uh, but yeah, honestly, like I kind of just include a lot of those members that go there into my films because like at the end of the day they want to make films. They have available time, so why don't we just collaborate and make something really? That's like my philosophy there. So yeah, I joined there, and we started making stuff. I made like this documentary, first time doing that, and that failed like epically because I never did documentaries before, and I never had a workflow. Because my workflow when it comes to filmmaking is like you basically just like lock yourself away or look at things that inspire you, and then once you're inspired you write something, then I storyboard, I shortlist, and then involve everybody like DOPs and whatnot to help me like envision it into real life, and then I get gaffers whatnot and sound involved, and I start coordinating a crew, and then we push into production when we have a shoot date figured out and the cast like available. We film it and then we edit it, and that's it. But the thing with a documentary was we'd be filming for like 8 days. Like normally, all my films would be done in one day. So like when I did documentaries, I've got 8 days worth of footage, which is like 20 minutes per day, or like even 2 hours of content per day. Now I gotta watch through that, which I don't have like a workflow of. So it was just like watching a lot of stuff and just being bored all the time. And honestly, I was like, I couldn't make a story out of this, and it failed. It collapsed onto itself. But the crew that were there helped me make films after that, which I really appreciate them for. I remember we made Did You Miss Me from we basically made some incredible films, short films that I'd say and that kind of just led up to the whole university experience where when I left college because of the pandemic, I went to uni. I went to University of Derby. I want to go somewhere further, really. I want to like stay in uni, like in a comms or wherever. I thought that would be insane. But the thing is, my dad was like, "Oh, try to find something closer. Try to be more affordable wherever, and don't go broke." Um, so I kind of chose University of Derby because it was like far enough where like it's just far away from my family, and it was like far enough where like I can do whatever I want and I can have some freedom, but it was also close enough where I could come home again, like what I mean, like in the evening or whatnot. Um, I did media production. That was honestly a stupid mistake because I used to watch the film production team just make some incredible films. They had a better like friends of like they had like a family environment which is awesome, and I just really missed that. I was like, oh, I wish I could like change my course. I could have, but I didn't because I'm an idiot. And I just watched those guys just make some incredible films, hire at the best like facilities, um, and I was like, I wish that was me really. But the thing is, at that point in time, well, the reason why I did media production in the first place was because I thought like, it'd make me diverse. Like I thought it'd make my filmmaking experience more diverse. Um, because like I can basically do magazines, I can do this, I can do like radio, I can do podcasts, I can make posters, like, but the thing with that is like you're doing everything, and even though I'm a filmmaker and I produce, direct, and write, like at the end of the day, I just want to make a film, and I feel like I should have just done film production to just produce a film. So I missed that. I missed out on that because I remember we were very limited for the kit rentals as well. Because whenever I'd hire equipment, I wasn't able to hire Arri Alexas or like red cameras or black magics. I could only get like the cheap ass like camcorders of 2001. You know what I mean? Which was really disappointing. Plus, it was also pandemic, so we couldn't have like classes all the time. It was like once every 2 weeks, so I could make as many friends as I could make, especially if like we're like distanced or wherever. And then I was very lucky because I was an alumni from NFTS and BFI now. That like at that point in time, I got an email that said, "Do you want to work at Pinewood Studios? On a feature film, a Hollywood feature film." And I was like, "Yeah, I want to do that." And they were like, "The pay's great. You get to move to London or wherever." And I was like, "Yeah, that's wicked. Let's do it." That like when I applied once again using the whole NFTS mentality that I'll just do like a sound. I'll be a sound guy. You know what I mean? And then second, I don't think there was like a second choice. It was just like your main specialism really. So when I applied for sound, I had an interview. I failed it because I woke up late. But I was really good. I was really nice with the coordinator of the opportunity because basically basically when I applied for sound, and then later on I got an email from Disney that was saying like, "Oh, you're gonna work on a Disney film, but we can't tell you what film until you're on it." So I was like, "Oh, all right, that's wicked. Let's do it." And when I got the interview for sound, I don't know what happened. I think I was just so tired the night before because I was just like, so like when you're just excited about something and you just can't sleep. I think that happened, and when I slept, I just overslept. And then that when I woke up, I was like 15 minutes late. I just literally ran. I was like, I don't care. Like, I got morning breath, but the guy won't be able to smell that from the other side of the of his laptop. So we don't need to worry about that. But when we called, he was really disappointed. He was like asking me the questions, but I could feel some resentment that like he was just like slightly pissed off, which was totally understandable. I think I'd be feel the same if somebody was late. But after my experience, I would probably wouldn't. I'd try to be more lenient, I suppose, unless I have not a lot of time in my hands. But the interview failed. The guy was like, "I'm not gonna hire you because you're late," and I was like, "Okay, that's totally understandable." But I was really pissed at myself. I was like, I literally like an opportunity has gone out my hand. What have I done? That I basically just like hassled the Disney coordinator. I just gave us so many emails a day, like once every 6 hours, like from like the time I wake up and then to dinner time, and then just wake up and give an email to dinner time, wherever. So like all the time I'm sending her something. So either I'm like at the top of her list on her email chain, or at the bottom if she's scrolling. So she replied back. She was like, "What do you want?" I was like, "I want another chance, please." And she was like I shouldn't be doing this, but like not a lot of people want to do certain things. Like, and everyone wants to be like an assistant director or whatever. But that isn't really helpful for us because like we need other people for other things. And I was like, "I'll do exactly what you want me to do." And she was like, "Can you? Do you know what a grip is?" I was like, I'll figure it out. And she was like, figure it out by tomorrow morning and be on time. And I figured out what it was. It was basically like a grips trainee is basically just like somebody that uh, he just facilitates for the camera department. So, provides the rigs, like, the tripods, the dollies, the cranes, and just facilitates the movement of the camera as well. So facilitates the resources for the camera, like that the camera is mounted onto, and also facilitates for the movement of the camera as well. So like like gimbals and whatnot, like normally kind of fell into our stuff as well. So, and rigging up certain cars, action vehicles or wherever. So I joined that, and I didn't know what film I was on until I got the job, and the guy really liked me. And later on, when I was researching who the HOD was, it was David Appleby. I researched, and it said that he worked on Skyfall and Spectre. Honestly, it felt like stars aligned. It was like as if like it was like my life was leading up for that moment of just being closer to why I got started in the first place. And that was incredible. So I basically just joined, and I basically just like went there. I like basically they said you have to move in like in 2 weeks. You need to start your job, and I was already in university, and one of the conditions of like the whole scheme was you can't be in university. So I basically was like, I'm gonna drop out. So I did. I literally just dropped out like that. I didn't know it was that easy. Like you could just drop out like that. So when I dropped out, I basically just I moved there. I was looking on like different type of like like rooms, houses wherever to like hire. I started learning how expensive London was just from straight off the bat from those searches. But I figured out one. There was a room that was going for 650. I was like, I can negotiate. So I invited my dad and my uncle to come along with me, and we went to London. And we went to the guy, and we were like, "This is a great place because my room had a balcony, like a terrace. Or is it called? It's like a balcony where it's on at the end of a cul-de-sac, and we had like it's basically like a room, like a house share. So the kitchen was pretty big, and you have like the garden or wherever, and right behind us was Lidl's. We had some really good shops around us, so I was actually very well looked after. That when I basically I talked to the guy and I was like, you're sending it for 650 and it seems like you're really looking for somebody and I'm only gonna pay you £500. And he was like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, like, that's ridiculous. And I was like, look, I'm a student at the end of the day. 650 is a lot. I know you're trying to make some money, and that's honestly great work, but we're trying to save money, so let's kind of lock in and let's talk. And the guy was like, I'll only go as low as 550. And I was like, let's do 520. And the guy was like, oh, fuck, he's got his dad and his uncle here. And they probably came from, yeah, like pretty far. And the guy was like, okay, fuck it, let's do it. So I got the room for 520. And that's how I moved to London. And I'm not gonna lie, like talking to all the trainees, I kind of had a really good place to live, really. Like compared to other people, other people are like when they became friends with certain people, they like actually hired a house together and they lived like that. But with me, I was like very well looked after. I just like moved in and I stayed there for close to a year. And later on, I realized that I'd be working on Indiana Jones, and that whole experience was just wicked, just seeing what set building looked like, top-notch actors doing their thing, and just directors doing their thing, DOPs, camera departments, how they like worked around personalities. And it was great. Like, it was just lovely to see. And when that project finished, I basically went on to Barbie for a little while, and I was just like a junior greensman, just like painting up the leaves to help the set deck department. And after that, I was just like, you know, the opportunities are kind of drying up, and also I've got a good amount of money saved up, so I was like, let me just move back to Birmingham and let me just try. Like, I think now is a chance where I've learnt so much, and when I moved to work for Disney, um, I basically didn't make any films whilst I was, well, I did make one film. It was called Lady Macbeth, and we had funding for it. Like, I remember I helped like Joe Lycett make a short film, and during lunchtime I asked him, "Oh, would you be interested in like funding a film?" And he really liked me, and he was like, "Yeah, sure thing." And next day when I looked at my crowdfunding page, he invested the money, and I was like, "Wicked, let's make it," and we did. That was the only film that we made. Only one film out of a whole year, and I was like, we need to do better. And when I came back, I started like I invested in with my dad. My dad basically bought with me a Black Magic, and we bought sound equipment, lights, and whatnot. Uh, and then we were like, okay, cool. I don't know how to use the Black Magic yet, but I want to just I'm here now, back in my home city. Let's make something. So we made a short film called Jadoo, which you can watch. That was really fun. That was my first time doing an action related thriller. And honestly, we had an incredible actor like Ray Jahan and Lewis. And that was the first time where, like, my usual sound collaboration, music collaborator, Ross, was not available. So I began a new relationship with Jack for my music. And honestly, he's been great ever since. We have a running relationship, and it's honestly wicked. Um, so that, like, when we made Jadoo, that basically went on. We basically went on a roll, and I remember when I was in Disney, I was always writing. Oh, I want to make a web series, like a three-part web series. One would be Shelter, one would be Fathers, and the other one would be Business Proposal. Um, and basically we started production on that. It was basically summertime anyway. After Jadoo was shot like during January time, February time, and began editing in March to April. That once we finished that, we were in summer, and we were like, let's start making like the more like like allotment related stuff, because my dad basically got an allotment as well. So we were like, that'd be a great space for us to basically make some open, controlled environments like content. Shelter was directed by a friend of mine, Tosh. That was basically the whole goal for web series was I'll give certain directors like control, like because I was watching like certain shows on Netflix where like other people were basically directing it, but it was like had a core vision by one guy. Uh, and I was like, I want to do that. So I did it. It was honestly a terrible experience with Shelter. Um, yeah, it was just like honestly just working with personality. Well, basically, I'll just like give you a rundown. It's like when we made Shelter, I basically just felt like the director relationship, producer relationship was always going to be a bit challenging when you're kind of giving somebody else like control. And I was like, that's just terrible because now like you just rely on another person who's just very laissez-faire. And whenever I'm thinking of a film, always on a film, I'm always like very active, especially if I'm a core like team member. And I was like, you know, as I've given control to somebody that's like more interested in whatever he's gonna do, I was like that's fine. And then for the second film was always gonna be directed by me, so I was always very happy with that. And that was my first time just being my own DOP and figuring out how to use the black magic. And we used it, honestly, I was so happy when I used it. Like the slow motion just came out wicked, story was great. And that had a problem as well, but in the music side of it, because I was originally going to have some Asian music in there, like that was actually going to be like a proper song, where somebody sings like an Asian track. Um, but the thing is, the musician basically like said that he's gonna make it, and then he just suddenly went to Dubai or UAE or wherever, and that was just terrible for me, really. Do you guys want to ASMR? But yeah, so basically the musician just disappeared. He was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna go fucking Dubai. I'm gonna work for T Series, which is like this big Indian company that makes music and films." So he disappeared, and I was like, okay, I need to have like an Indian feeling to this film because it was like my first film where it was just Asian orientated. Like it was just about an Asian experience, an Asian household, about Asian stories, about like like family and whatnot. Because it was basically like loosely based on like real life events that happened that I saw. Not in my household. I mean, I'm from a very sheltered household, so where everybody loves each other. But let me just have a smoke. One sec. I was working on fathers, and for the third film, it was gonna be directed by one of my friends. But the thing is, he dropped out. Like I was like, cool. Like now I don't have a director, so now I got like a whole web series where I was gonna have like, other directors like make put their own vision on my stories. They dropped out, so I was like, I gotta put my own vision on my own stories. Like that kind of defies the whole purpose of the web series I wanted to make in the first place. So I made business proposal. I thought it would be better than I envisioned it to be. The sound had a lot of problems where we had to like ADR, and that was the first time I did well, it was the second time I did ADR, but it was the first time I would improve on that side of something I never knew about. Um, so yeah, like that happened. Um, and then after that, I was like, I'm never gonna make a web series again. I was like, fuck that shit, man. I suppose you can just watch it. But like, what do you guys think? Like, what episode of that series Harvest did you guys like? Like, did you guys like Shelter, Fathers, or did you guys like Business Proposal? I'd actually really like to hear what you guys think. After that, um, I basically just started like, no, I think I didn't make anything after that. I think I was just so disappointed in people and in myself a little bit that like those were the quality of films I was making that I was like I don't want to make films for a while. Or I was just so scared of making another film that it was gonna be like as shit as those that I was like, cool. I just have to think. And then at that period of time, my friend was like, "Oh, another friend of mine was like, oh, I'm gonna write this film. It's like like a crime thriller." So we joined that. But it's still in production and well post production now. But that has its own issues, um, which we could talk about later. But you know, after that point in time, after that action, the crime thriller, which was Rooted Revenge, after that point in time, I was just like I'm giving away control to people, man. I was like, I fucking hate like this feeling when you basically just give people control and they just tear it up, like they tear responsibility apart. Like, are you a fucking hippie, bro? That like, oh, we're gonna be like laissez-faire, and this is like, a new way of fucking. Like, I don't want to make experimental films, man. I was like, this is terrible. Um, so after that, I was like, I don't. Want, I was like, I don't know. And plus, I was starting to grow more broke, I suppose, because like I quit my job, because like I had a seizure and I was not liking, working and whatnot. So I was like, I just want to be free, man. I was like, I just want to be independent and I just want to give freelancing a go. That I just quit my job and I started growing a bit more broke, and I couldn't like sustain the whole Adobe membership thing, and I was like, it's not really that great either because I was like, whenever I was making like films on Premiere Pro, all my color grades would kind of get dissipated, like it would just look like flat, and I was like, what the fuck is this? There's no point in me paying for something when my films are gonna look flat anyway. So I was like, why don't I just make like why don't I try finding solutions? And I remember that when I bought the Blackmagic camera, I had Adobe like Studio Resolve for free, like as part of the camera package. That I basically just like scrapped the whole Adobe thing, and I was like, I'm gonna make a film solely with Adobe. No, I'm gonna make a film specifically for editing in DaVinci, and that was really good. And at that point, we basically bought like the whole studio, so we could basically make our own films and also like you know have a space where we could make our films come to life. Um, and at that point in time, I was thinking of ideas and I thought about filmmakers of the future because I was just like, I can't really think of ideas. I don't want to do anything that's too like action, like, heavy or like, action set pieces or whatever. I just want to tell like a story in one space and also show people that, oh, you can hire this space for your own films. Um, so I just thought about like, oh, why don't I tell a story called Filmmakers of the Future where I just be inspiring, it's just like a filmmaker who has a lot of ideas, and instead of like basically he doesn't have a lot of ideas, and what he's gonna do is he's gonna give you an idea. He's gonna give you motivation to get started on your idea. And that was the point where I was at myself. I was like always giving other people like motivation. So I was like, why don't I just encapsulate that into an idea, and why don't I bottle it and sell it in it? Like, why don't I just like sell that idea? So we made Filmmaker of the Future, and honestly, when I made that, I just had that spark of energy where I was like this is why I'm a filmmaker. Like this film is awesome. Like the color looks so wicked when I edited it in DaVinci. Like just through the first export and just looking back on the color grade, I was like, this is completely identical to what I colored it as, and I was like, I'm in love. Like the stills were just so wicked. I was like, this is awesome, man. I love DaVinci and I love my Blackmagic camera. And I was like, I just want to make more films on here now. And with this workflow, because I found one and I was like, I'm going to stick to it. Like, it was so good because, like, uh, I'd basically edit the film. And once I'd edit it to a certain point where it become approved, once I approve the cut, it doesn't need to be the final cut, or it doesn't need to be color graded. It just needs to be approved, so I don't move it around or wherever. And once that's approved, I color grade it. And in that point in time when I've approved it, I've sent it to the composer. I've sent it across to a sound design person. and now it's just time for basically those guys to get involved, sound design the project, make music for it, and whilst that's happening, I color grade it. So by the time they've done the thing, I've made the final version of what people will see, and then I put what people are gonna hear, like at the end, and I just export it, and that's basically my film. And it was basically just ready to put in the cinema really, or just on YouTube. It was a more YouTube focused film anyway. It was just for people to like people who want motivation to be motivated really. And then we made cheese. Then we made some other micro short films. So I kind of had like momentum really to kind of keep on going. And my like I wanted to like step up my production value by Gajo, and that was basically like a horror film, and I wanted to incorporate some VFX this time. And that's when I at the end of it, like I have a certain point where I've worked with Baz to kind of have the girl actually looking like she's possessed by actually having spirits kind of take over her body and whatnot. So I really loved that project. Honestly, that is like a staple for me of progression. It means a lot to me. And when I put it up, a lot of people loved it, which I'm very happy about. And we made, wrong formula. And yeah, so that kind of comes nearer to where we are right now. So yeah, like that's like how I got into filmmaking. And the place that I want to go really, like the thing that keeps me going all the time is just experimentation. Like I don't make experimental films, but I always experiment with the new process of what I want to where I want to be. So like so far I've shot on spherical lenses, and I feel like I've done a good job on it so far. That now I want to film on anamorphics. I want to shoot on anamorphic glass. I want to now at least try to build new relationships with DOPs where I can now delegate certain responsibility. Because the thing with me is like the reason why I don't work with a lot of DOPs is because I feel like they don't put the same effort into it, and that's fine. Because like at the end of the day, like I'm a young filmmaker. I can't find a lot of money to support like the filmmaking process or just the films that I make, because it's just competitive. And I mean that's like the nature of this industry. Really, it's going to be competitive. It's hard, but it doesn't mean that you stop. Really, uh, like there's not one time or one reason, or like I would never stop. I'm never gonna stop. But that like just because I don't have any money doesn't mean that I'm not gonna tell a story that I can tell. Like I'm always gonna tell stories that I can tell, and if I get money, I'll tell the stories that I want to tell. But right now it's just I'm forced to tell what I can tell right now because with what resources I have around me. Um, but I want to tell something greater. But time will unlock those opportunities, and I really believe that. Um, and yeah, like that's what currently keeps me going is just to make something bigger, better. It doesn't mean that it has to be longer. I do want to make a feature film, and I am writing about one, which is a boxing film about a kid with autism who's getting bullied all the time. And as he's getting bullied, his uncle just spots that, and he's like, "Why don't I just, you know, why don't I just give you a chance to punch a punching bag, and I'll show you a couple of moves." Because the uncle's basically got his own like rundown boxing gym, and as he's showing him a couple of moves and the kid does it, he has such a strong punch that like the uncle's like, "Why don't you like defend yourself?" And the uncle's like, "Why don't you defend yourself?" The kid's like, "I just don't know how to." And it's just all about like courage, really, bravery. So the uncle just teaches him how to defend himself, and as he's doing that, he's just spotted so much potential in his like nephew that he's like, "Why don't I sign you prematurely into a under 18s tournament, and we basically prepare you for that." So it's basically just like, you know, a film about opportunities, about like, bullies overcoming that feeling of being tormented, and, you know, and basically finding something that you find passion in and something that you want to follow really. So that's what that film's all about. and that's what I want to tell. So right now we're on the first draft. So of course there's a lot of problems with the script, the way that it's flowing, but we're always solving that. That will be solved in the edits to come on the script, and we want to sell it. We want to kind of get some money for it. So I look forward to sharing more updates with that as we go along. Really, um, but yeah. So um, what else? Like the thing that keeps me going, like the place that I want to be is the place that I see myself in the next couple of years is I just see myself just making feature films, making the films I want to tell. Basically, just doing what I'm currently doing, but with money. And so far we've got an incredible opportunity, which was provided by Cassie as part of the Birmingham Young Filmmaker Network, as well as Pre-Hate Productions with Matt Ford, who basically provided us with £500 to make a short film, and that was is one of the times where we've actually been given money to tell a short film story. So I really thank them for that. But with this momentum, I just want to keep on pushing and getting more money to tell bigger stories. I have something that I want to tell soon, which is like a fun adventure film. Because like I love Indiana Jones movies, and I was so blessed to have the opportunity to work on the Dial of Destiny film that I was like, I want to tell my own version of that type of like epicness. So I'm going to be doing that very soon, and I can't wait to share that with you guys eventually. But right now, it's still in script format, so it'll be moved upwards into production once the weather gets slightly better, I suppose. But yeah, like that's the reason that this has basically been my filmmaking experience so far. This has been my journey so far, and this is what keeps me going. And this is what the place that I want to be is somewhere bigger, somewhere more established. But at the moment, at the position that I'm currently at, is I'm just very grassroots, and that's absolutely fine. And I'm just trying to build an audience. I'm trying to build a base where people can watch my films, and I want to come to a point where the people that want to watch my films on YouTube will be able to come out and actually support me like physically. I think a physical relationship is much better than just what like all this internet flex or whatever numbers. I don't really care too much about that. I just want to make a film and just have people there, and just hearing people love it in real life. And I know that the industry is changing where people prefer to be at home and stream movies. That's absolutely fine. I want to tell those stories as well. I mean, that's what I'm currently doing on YouTube, but I always also do love the physical experience of going to cinema and watching those movies as well. But I just want to be staying up with the current times. I just want to do a bit of both, of streaming, physical media, and just being there, being present. But that's what it's all about, really. It's just about being present. And with me right now, I just want to meet new people and make better things with those people. And yeah, like this is why this is my first ever, I suppose, like time that I'm talking honestly. And yeah, like this is basically me. Like I think the main problem was that, like, whenever I was making these films, it felt like nobody knew or knows the people behind the camera, especially if we're getting good amount of views and it's coming from all around the world. Like, not a lot of people know that, this is a Rajab Mahmood film. This is this is that this that, you know what I mean. So it's like, it's just, I just want you to come on this platform and just thank you all for watching my videos. I really appreciate if you stayed till the end. I hope you like and subscribe, and I hope you keep on watching some more films from us, guys. But we're gonna keep on striving. We're gonna keep on going. We're gonna keep on making incredible films. We're gonna keep on increasing and building on our network, and we hope to include you very soon if you're very interested in joining our team. But not a lot of people do this in Birmingham, where they just talk about the experiences, and they just gatekeep. But with me, it's just always been like a forward momentum. It's always been a lot of people just stopping me, and me just stepping forward, and just me going into the dark without a flashlight and just finding my way by just touching the walls. I mean, like, oh shit. I mean, that's the exit or that's the entrance. You know what I mean? So, I hope you all are blessed, and I hope you guys stay blessed, and I hope you guys make incredible films of your own. If you guys are staying till the end of this video, and if you guys are, please do drop your links down below. I'd love to see more engagement on my videos. I'd love to just see a bit of comments that kind of keep us going. Please like this video, subscribe, and please share. I really appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much, and stay blessed.